And we are live. That's my favorite part where it says, and you're alive, exclamation point.
Yes. Oh my God.
StreamYard gets excited for us.
Someone is.
Woo! StreamYard's our biggest fan.
Yes.
So, all right. So I guess we should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Maria Daniels with Successfully Chaotic, and
I am Stacey Pryce from Waseoff Podcasts.
All right. So yeah, we didn't do that last time, and I had somebody tell me that. They're like, you didn't introduce yourself. I'm like, oh.
Oh, that's a good thing. We should introduce ourselves.
We should. I mean, I felt like, and maybe this is just my brain, but I felt like it says it.
It does, but I think people need the verbal, like they need.
That way they know how to pronounce our name. I feel like both of our names are pretty easy to pronounce, even though I have a regular amount of people that call me Mariah.
No.
Yes.
Interesting.
Jerry James, I am calling you out right now. He's always called me Mariah. And we'll be around people that we like both know, and they'll be like, did he just call you Mariah? And I'm like, yeah, I just go ahead and at this point just answer because I quit even correcting him. So that's how that goes.
Yeah.
But so how's Stacey? We've got a topic I promise we're going to talk about in a second, but we're going to get into the flow of it. How's Stacey?
Stacey's good. Stacey's doing well. I'm going to keep the third person thing going. She had an eventful weekend. You know, her girlfriend moved in, and she's just doing stuff and more stuff.
That was pretty vague, but it's okay. But your car, I'm assuming since you're not on your phone, you got into your car, all that from last week worked out with your kids. Okay, so you're back at your place. You're not like stranded somewhere with no vehicle.
No broken window, no craziness. Everything's good in Staceyville.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and then also you got the whole move down. So was it like 50-50 between the Mini Cooper and moving van, or was it like more moving van? I feel like I need that answer. Okay, that's good. Yeah. I'm just trying to use my
You're right.
Yeah. I'm still trying to use my imagination on how a Mini Cooper is involved at all in moving, but that's fine.
I could have taken a picture. Next time I'll provide visual.
Yeah, next time you better not say that. Next time you move your girlfriend in, I don't think that's a good thing to say on live.
No. It's not what I meant. The next time, because this is temporary, of course.
Yeah.
We're renting, but when we move again into the official tissue,
there you go. Then rewinding it, cleaning it up. Okay, keep going.
All right, so when we do that, I'm going to show you. You'd be surprised how much stuff fits in a Mini Cooper, 2-door coupe. You'd be surprised. Right.
I feel like I need a count. I need a count. I need you to count the items that's in the Mini Cooper. Okay, so that's onto that. So we did have it. Do what?
What's going on your end?
On my end, I am at my office, which means I have no children, which means it's a really, really good moment in my life at this moment right now. So I love my kids, for everybody that doesn't know that, but whoo! And Miss Lori may be watching this. She's my babysitter, and she's my favorite person because she allows me to come here to get my work done. So we all need to appreciate Miss Lori. That's for sure.
Thank you, Miss Lori.
So
come out and play.
She's like another grandma. Like the kids have got two fabulous grandmas, but she's like another grandma. She's like, we bought another grandma. Are you allowed to say that? I don't know if I could say that. We have acquired the services of another grandma. Is that one appropriate?
A bonus grandma.
Bonus grandma. Thank you.
Yes.
See, this is why I have you. I have you to smack me and go, not PC. Stop saying that because
online.
I know. But see, anybody that actually knows me as a person knows that yes, sometimes the foot does go on my mouth, but it is not an intentional thing. It's wait, I can't say that. That's not a good thing because of all the other things that can also mean. And I don't think about that.
Yeah.
I don't think about just like you didn't think about saying the next time that I do that, meaning see, we're gonna keep each other. Keeping each other in line.
Indubitably.
So we did want to come and talk about a real topic, which is going to typically be a thing that we do along with the other who knows what that goes on. But I messaged Stacey earlier and because I was actually writing and I was like, hey, we should talk because it's spontaneous. So obviously we just picked the topic like today that we're going to talk about, which is going to be what we do. I don't want to plan this too far in advance. I think if it's called spontaneity, we have to be spontaneous, or I feel like we're lying.
2 hours max.
Yeah, that's it. So I was writing about a topic, and I texted her and I said, "Hey, you want to talk about the Pareto principle?" And she's like, "I don't know what that is."
What's that?
What is? But I bet you found out that you really had heard of it. You just didn't know it was called that, right?
Right. I didn't know it had a name. I didn't even know it was called 80-20. And then I looked it up and I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense why certain businesses, although there's this many things to address, we focus on maybe this percent. Like, it makes a lot of sense now.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's honestly something that can be used in all aspects of life. I mean, yes, in business, but also just life, because, you know, all of you that don't know what that, you know, the Pareto principle is, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He was Italian and I don't know the proper pronunciation. Before everybody starts yelling at me, I can't say redneck. Never mind. I have a Southern Tennessee accent that allows me the ability to not always say words properly. And this is just what you put. So, yeah. I'm saying Pareto because that's how I would say it. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, whatever it is in Italian. I'm sure it's beautiful, but this is for the purposes of this talk. It's Pareto. Are you okay with Pareto?
I'm okay with it. We need some Italian stallions to come up in here and tell us if we're pronouncing it incorrectly.
Yeah, I'm telling you because I don't actually know, but that's for the purposes of now, that's what it is. So pretty much what that states is the 80-20 principle. And what's his real name? Sort of the V. I forgot it's also in Italian. Pareto. I'm just going to call him Pareto. But Pareto, he was in the late 1800s. I don't remember what it was. It was like some Vic Factor or something.
I'm going to tell you in like 2.5 seconds.
Anyway, in the late 1800s, he came up with this concept because he started noticing that in Italy, where he was from, obviously, because I said he had an Italian name, in Italy, where he was from, that like 20% of the population owned, you know, 80% of the real estate there. And so he started noticing that this 80-20 rule not only was, you know, kind of happening there and just like the ownership of Italy, but also in nature. He was able to point out things that was going on in nature, that was going on in our day-to-day lives. And I find it completely fascinating because if you think about it, it is applied to like lots of our lives. Like, for example, like most of us don't wear our whole wardrobe. We pick out roughly about 20% of it and wear it over and over and over because it's like, even though we have an entire wardrobe, there's like a small section of it. And like, for example, like projects, like if you look at like a big project, it usually ends up, if it messes up, something goes wrong with it, it's usually that 20% that messed up. Or if it was successful, it's usually because of that 20%. Kind of goes back and forth. So you can look at these things over and over. There's been lots and lots of studies done on it. And I was actually Googling and watching all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting because, I mean, I've known about the 80-20 rule for a while because we actually, we've used it in some like continuing education projects that I've had to do. But like, I never really looked into really why. You know, when you're doing any type of education, you're just like, I'm getting this done, and you're just like writing in, you're learning all you need to know. But, you know, digging back to the why and where else it like applies and the reason behind it, I actually find completely intriguing.
Absolutely. And his name is Vilfredo.
Vilfredo.
Yeah, Vilfredo. In 1906, he's an Italian economist.
Are we allowed to do a terrible Italian accent, or is that like bad too?
Well, if you're offended, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't do it on purpose. We're trying to make it accurate.
We're trying to let people know that, you know, it's the diversity of the planet that helps us grow. So
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
bring it around.
So, okay, tell me whenever you, because you, a couple hours ago, 2 hours ago, started looking it up. What was kind of your biggest takeaways that you found from it?
Well, I mean, kind of like what I mentioned, like, you know, in anything you do, whether it's, you know, just like the analogy that you came up with, like clothing, right? We have like a gazillion things of clothes. Some of us, most of us, I don't know. But if you think about it, like how much do you actually wear? And then you kind of can decipher, like, let's say you're moving, just like, you know, my girlfriend, like, let's say you're moving. You can now focus on like, okay, let's focus on the 20% that I do utilize. Yep. And now I can actually donate the 80, you know what I mean? In that concept. And especially in a business or even a podcast, for instance, you know, a great analogy that came up when I researched it was this person that had a blog, and she was wondering why her blog wasn't getting traction. And she was like, okay, well, maybe it's the marketing. Well, maybe it's this. Well, maybe it's this. You know what I mean? And it could be 10 different things. But what she focused on is like, okay, well, kind of like what you mentioned, Maria, it's like, well, who am I speaking with? Mm-hmm. What language do they speak? You know, how do they speak? What are their issues? And by her focusing on the 20%, which was marketing and content, she was able to increase the traffic to her website by over 200%. You know what I mean? So that's really where it kind of like hit me. It's that in anything you do, or even like when you struggle, like people could be like, okay, I struggle with depression. You know what I mean? Yeah, overall, you want to quote unquote get your life together. Yeah. But if you think about what am I going to eat? When am I going to sleep? When am I going to do this? You're going to get overwhelmed, you know, and you're going to stress yourself out. But if you focus on the 20%, which could be, look, just get out of bed and eat something. Yeah. You know what I mean? That behavior is going to trickle into the other behavior. Not to say that the 80% is not important. It's going to get addressed. But it's kind of like, I have this word like trickle down theory. You know what I mean? You're going to start here and eventually the behavior is going to continue into other things. Yeah, I agree. Sorry. One of my renters walked by, so I had to wave up. Bye, Mary. So anyway, yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I know a lot of us, especially business owners, actually use this concept on a regular basis and we don't even realize it. You know, so when we're looking at our analytics on, you know, what posts that we're putting on social media is driving traffic, or, you know, what blog posts on our websites driving traffic, or what products and services that we have, you know, kind of what the needle movers, we use the term needle movers, you know, what those are, you know, they don't realize that that is really in effect that they're using, you know, this Pareto method. So, because I know even before I knew the term Pareto method, I did know needle movers, you know, if you're picking focal points, I've always kind of used the top 3. I know a lot of people have different numbers they use, but I've always said, like when I'm making my to-do list for the, you know, for the year, I have like overview goals. And I usually have 3 big goals. 3 is my number I use for it. And if I'm making my quarterly goals, 3 big goals, you know, my monthly goals, 3 big goals, weekly goals, 3 big goals. And you're going to be surprised by this, but my daily goals, 3 big goals. So, you know, when you're making those, that's how I do it. And the reason is because a lot of times, and I see a lot of people do this. A lot of times people have this, and I've made this mistake too, but they have this like to-do list that is like, you know, never ending. Business owners have a never ending to-do list, you know, they just do. And you can get so lost in the weeds of it if you're focusing on all the could have, would have, should have, you know, like I say all the time. If you focus on all that, you can get lost in the weeds because there's so many things that you need to do. And, you know, but really you can't do all of them. And we know if we sit and think about it, that we can't actually get all of those done. So you need to look at them, decide, you know, what are my top 3? If I was to say to you, you could only get 3 things done today, what would you pick? You know, that's how I pick my top 3. If everything else just goes to beep, you know, if it all just like the beep hits the fan, I don't know if the StreamYard's rules are, so I'm saying beep, but you can use your imagination. But if the beep hits the fan, then you only get 3 things done. These will still move the needle, right? So that's how I do it. And even when I'm working with clients and stuff, I say, you know, I have them write down their to-do list, which most of the time it's like everybody else is completely ridiculously long, you know, and then I have them let me know, like, okay, well, they'll have like 40, 50 things on there, depending on the person. I'll be like, okay, well, if I was to tell you to write me a list, would you write 40 or 50 things for me to do? Right.
Because we don't do that to other people, but somehow with ourselves, we think we're like this superhuman person that can like crank it out. But the only thing we're doing is we're setting ourselves up for a failure, within that. So, you kind of have to look at that and decide, what are my top 3 most important things? And if there's a lot of things that really, really actually have to be done, then you're going to have to figure out either to delegate it to somebody else or just delete it. Then apparently that needs to go somewhere, because the not getting it done over and over and over is just stress inducing. Yeah. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know.
Ask me how. Ask me where.
I know. I feel like, because seriously, and that's how I really started digging into this, is because, it goes back to that you teach what you need to learn. We all have those things that kind of our natural go-tos. Yeah. And, my natural go-to is overpacking my freaking day.
Yeah.
And I do it.
Yeah. You're so right about that, teaching what you need to learn, because like, even me, it's like with my podcast, like I'll be like a dog chasing its tail. I'm like, but I gotta. And then it's like, okay, well, but what did you accomplish today to move towards that goal? It's like, absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So, and that's what ends up happening. And that's why I think it's so important to kind of think about when you're making your plan. It's okay. I always call it brain dump. I still write all the things on my brain dump page. And I know I've shared with this with you before. Yeah. I have my brain dump page, gets it out of my head, gives me an ongoing list of stuff that I can look at. But most of the time, there's no way that I could do all that stuff on my brain dump list in any given day, week, sometimes month. So that just goes, on my brain dump list. And then I sit down and write down, the things I have to get done. And if you're not really sure, most of the time we have these like time wasting areas of things and we don't even realize it. And, I am all for self-care and taking a break and resting, but are you really resting if you're just like wasting your time, like doing something that really is not moving the needle and not allowing you to, rest or improve your life, your happiness or something? No, but we end up kind of spinning our wheels on a lot of these activities that are doing nothing except taking our time.
Right. Exactly. Like, even blogging, like with, this example, it's like you can blog all day. You can blog every single day, kind of like, Seth Godin. Seth Godin blogs every single day. But right now he's at that point where a lot of people look at his blog, but I'm sure in the beginning, it's like he's just blogging to blog, just to, get the information out. But you can blog, but how are you going to get people to view the blog? You know what I mean? So there's other things that are going to go into that, not everything. Because if you keep changing the situation or changing what you're doing, we don't have anything to stick to. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to see like what the priorities are. And I like that idea about like the top 3 things, because they usually say work smarter, not harder. You know what I mean? So when you focus on like those 3 components, you're going to be like, okay, these are my priorities. You focus there, and then you could brain dump the rest.
Yeah.
Go back in that book and look at it again. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing, like, and if for some miracle I finish my top 3, I always have another working list that I could pull something over from, but my focus is on my top 3 needle movers of the day. Right. And then if I end up with added time, put that over. I know everybody's personality is a lot different, but with my personality, I need to have an overview schedule, kind of like a bullet points and stuff, that I actually do not do well if it's too rigid. Because if I have too rigid of a schedule and like a client calls or my kid calls or whatever happens, I freak out, because all of a sudden my life is ruined because my schedule is not working out, because it was supposed to be done at 3:30 and now it's not going to get done at 3:30. I don't do well with that. I do well.
Just like, I'm just like, where's my wiggle room?
Yeah, I have to have wiggle room. But some people do better with that rigid schedule. So I always tell people, you have to think about your own personality, your own life, and work within that, right? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to take somebody else's concept and try to keep it exactly like theirs if that does not fit within your personality.
Kind of like why like most diets fail, because the person's like, okay, you want this lifestyle change, and then, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Maria, but you want this lifestyle change, and then you do something like drastic. I remember back in the day when Atkins first came out, and everybody was like, yo, I'm on Atkins. Like, that's all I do. And then they eventually just had zero energy because I think it was the one where it was like no carbs or something like that. And they were just like, no. And then they eventually came off of it. There wasn't like a gradual change of like introducing new foods and kind of like taking it, you know, one step at a time. They just kind of like went, from now on, I'm doing this. And that works for some people. It works for some people. Just be like, yo, I'm throwing everything out the fridge. But then what ends up happening is it's like, okay, well, now what do I eat? Just like lettuce and potatoes. Tell me from your experience, what is that? Like, how do we apply the 80-20 rule to like our diet or lifestyle changes?
Well, I always say this, that you start where your feet are planted, you know, and you know, if you're currently living the lifestyle where you're hitting the drive-through 3 times a day, and then I say you're going to go on a carb-free whole foods diet, you know, right now today, and you're going to eat from the earth, you're probably going to maybe be able to do it a week, maybe 2, but you're going to fall off the wagon because, you know, you have to, it takes time to kind of get used to a different lifestyle. And, you know, I'm not a big believer in diets of any kind. I'm really not. I am a believer in, you know, lifestyle choices and, you know, eating for our body and, you know, taking care of ourselves and all that stuff. But again, that's going to look different for each person.
Absolutely.
You know, there's no, I am really against the cookie cutter approach to everything. And anybody that knows me personally or has worked with me professionally know that. I don't like it because it's not a sustainable way of doing things.
It's not. And you're not gonna keep up with it. You're going to fall off the wagon, just like you said, and it's just gonna be like, all right, and then guess what? You're gonna change it. You're gonna try something else, like, oh, this one didn't work. Let me try like this one, you know, Beachbody. It's not going to work. It's not going to stay with you. You're just going to keep going through the cycle. And next thing you know, you're lacking nutrients.
Exactly. So, I mean, and you could take the same concept to any aspect. And, you know, if you're wanting to make some type of a lifestyle change or improve your business, improve your health, whatever it is, you know, I always tell people to write down kind of what they do in any given day. Like, what is your typical daily routine? Even if you don't think you have a routine, you have a routine.
Yeah, you do.
Everybody has a routine. They might not have a super mega structured, again, 8 a.m. I do this, and then they might not have that, but you have a routine. Most people get up, they basically do about the same things every day. So write it down. What are you doing? Because, you know, usually that's like homework assignment number 1 for, you know, my clients, if I'm working with them, whether it's on the business side or on the wellness side, because honestly, what you're doing now tells me a lot about what we need to do to help you achieve what goals you're wanting. Because, you know, again, if I'm making you a plan, whether it be for business or, you know, for the wellness world, and I don't know what you usually do in a given day, I'm going to have a lot harder time trying to figure out what's going to actually work for you.
Right. You got to know the person, you got to know their habits. And that's the thing. We all have habits, just like you say. It's like we don't even realize it sometimes. And like even me, sometimes I'll just be like, yo, I keep doing the same stuff. Like I'm just, all right, tomorrow I'm gonna change it. And then next thing you know, you're back doing the same stuff.
And most of the time, those things aren't necessarily like bad for you.
Yeah, like rearrange.
Yeah, but they're not needle movers. They're not like if I was to say, you know, write down what you want your life to look like. What are your goals? What's your health goals? What's your life goals? What's your happiness goals? What's your business goals if you have a business? What are those look like? I would say that. You would write those down, right? And then I would say, okay, Stacey, write down just like from start to finish from your day. Like just give me a day, like a typical Stacey day. You know, don't pick a day that's like out of the norm. Pick one that's semi-normal. I mean, I know our days differ a little bit, but a semi-normal day. What does that look like? Or if you have like a schedule that it's like, well, on this day and this day, I'm kind of this schedule. On this day and this day, this schedule. I have people write down that schedule. So what does that look like? Right. So I've got your like goals, you know, your life goals, your health goals, your happiness goals, your, you know, business goals, have those. And then I have like what your day looks like. And then we can kind of look at that and say, okay, well, what in your typical daily lists are actually helping you meet any of those goals that you just wrote down. Circle those, right?
Exactly.
Those should be your priority things that you do through the day. You know what I mean? Those should be the things that you're replicating and spending more of the time on. And if there's stuff like, oh, I'm watching, you know, The Office. I love The Office. I'm not saying don't watch The Office. freaking watch The Office. I'm just saying, make that during, I tell myself, I like reward myself. I'll say, well, I'm going to get this, and this done. And then I'm going to watch an episode or listen to, I use TV like radio. I'm a weirdo, but I'm going to listen to an episode of The Office or whatever I'm listening to. I reward myself with it. I'm going to get this done, and then I'm going to do that.
That's a great idea.
The human, the human psyche is geared towards the reward system. I know we all try to do a punishment system, and I know I fall into this with my own kids, even though psychologically I've read the studies that show how much that freaking doesn't work most of the time.
Productive.
Freaking doesn't work. And I still be like, if you don't do that, you're grounded. Even though I know psychologically it's going to be better if I'm like, hey, if you do that, you get this, because we're just automatically kind of geared towards a reward system. So if we know that about ourselves and we really want to just get up and watch The Office and drink a cup of coffee and not do anything productive, but we've also wrote down our goals, and we've looked at our day and circled the things that's going to help us meet our goals. Well, we're going to tell ourselves, okay, well, I'm going to get this, and this done for, 90 minutes, 3 hours, whatever your time is. For me, it depends on what the item is. And then when I'm done, I get 30 minutes to not do anything. That's a reward that I can get behind, because, if I'm not getting that stuff done and then I just get burnt out with my day, which happens, I get burnt out because I'm like chasing my tail all day. And then I just go ahead and veg for 30 minutes. I feel guilty about that 30 minutes.
Oh my God. You're like saying everything like on point right here, because that's the thing. Like, I even see that too. It's like, okay, I just need like a couple of minutes to just like chill out or play video games or read or whatever my, activity is. And then I'm like, I feel bad about doing it because I'm just like, I didn't do X, Y, and Z to achieve my goal or my 20% that's needed to get to point B. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people struggle with that. So it's like, how do you come up with your priority list? I guess that would be the next thing. It's really focusing on what you're looking for. Is that right?
Yeah, and it does. So, again, if you go back and you look at your goals, like for me, there's certain things that in any given day are non-negotiable, barring emergency, like actual like life and death emergency. I am going to do my yoga and my meditation every day. Number one, I have sucky joints from too much damage on my body. It makes me feel good. The meditation with it helps just like with mental clarity. So that's a non-negotiable thing in my day. That is happening. My kids know, my husband knows. You better let me do my freaking yoga. I mean, it's just where it's on, right? So that's non-negotiable. That's a non-negotiable part of my day, which is not a time waster, because again, I've already established what my goals are. My goals are to be happy, to not be anxious. I've struggled with anxiety, and I don't ever want to go back to the deep, deep, dark pits of the anxiety ever again. And I know that this is kind of my own prescription to avoiding that. So that is a non-negotiable part of my day. To somebody else, I may look like, well, you're spending, 40 minutes on yoga and meditation. What you could be doing a needle mover there. Because am I making money off of me doing that? No, I'm not. Nobody's paying me to sit and do it. You know what I mean? Nothing has happened in my business doing it, but it's meeting some of my other goals. And when you're meeting your goals, the goals that I've established, my happiness, my own, mental stability, physical, it's part of wellness, that's part of my goals. If I'm reaching that, that's still very important to me. And, another thing is, when we're looking at the idea that, and this is again, where the Pareto principle comes in, a lot of people think more is better. More is not better. More is not better.
Right.
I don't care what you're putting it to. More is not better. Better is better. Better is just better.
Period. You know what I mean? This is, and I love that example, because if you think about it, your wellness is your 20%. It's part of your 20%. That's going to trickle into your 80. Because if you don't have a positive attitude, a positive sense of self, that vision of like, I can do this, like I had my me time for the day, how are you supposed to, like the number one thing that, what's his name? Earl Nightingale talks about is attitude. And anything you do, you have to have a positive attitude. I don't care if you're sweeping the floors. If you're going to do your job right, you better have a positive attitude. Although it's not your main goal, It's something that's going to take you there. So if you don't focus on your positive attitude every single day, that's going to trickle into the rest of your day. And then you won't get towards your 80% because you never focused on your 20.
Absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up because, you know, they don't correlate that. And we say this a lot. Me and you have had the same conversation. We're all just like layers, you know, and you don't, you know, we want to compartmentalize ourselves, and that's fine if you're planning sometimes, you know, depending on yourself. But you also, like, if you compartmentalize and plan it out, you have to make sure that it freaking goes together.
Yeah.
It's like, what are those little dolls that fit inside each other? What are those, you know, I'm talking about those little wooden dolls. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? I don't remember what they're called, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So, you know, if you're building those separate dolls, you know, and they don't fit together,
yes,
you're screwed, right? And it's the same thing with your life. That's fine. If you're the type of person that you do better if you have, okay, well, I have this box over here, and this box over here, and this box over here, and this box over here. Fine. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying you better make sure that you can stack them up and they fit.
Right.
You know what I mean? That ends up being the problem. And I don't do well keeping it all separate. I tried to keep it all separate because I thought that was better. For me, it didn't. It just made me like crazy all the time. I was just crazy.
They're called babushka dolls.
Yeah, babushka. Babushka.
I kind of chuckled. Yeah.
Babushka. I like that word.
Dolls or nesting dolls. Okay.
The next pet I get, I'm naming it babushka. I'm buying a fish. I need a fish. Robs, message me. I need a fish. I'm gonna name it babushka.
But it sounds like a sneeze.
But I have a fish currently, and I bought a fish when I was depressed. I'm gonna tell the story that has nothing to do with the what we're talking about, but that's okay because it's spontaneity, right? So I bought a fish out of depression because I was going through a really hard moment in my life, and this was a couple years ago. And I'm on the phone with one of my really good friends whose name's Jesse, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm buying a fish because I'm sad." Which you know, he didn't question because he knows me. So I bought a fish because I was sad because the fish was going to make me happy. And I was like, I don't know what to name him. He was a beta fish. And he goes, Jesse, of course. So his name's Jesse, but I give all my animals middle names. But I couldn't decide on a middle name. So I don't know if you probably haven't since you don't have kids. The book's Junie B. Jones. Junie B. Jones. It's a kid's book. Yeah, you don't have kids, but Junie B. Jones. Well, she has the stuffed animal named Philip Johnny Bob. And so that's the fish's middle name. So my fish's name is Jesse Philip Johnny Bob.
That's awesome. Hi, Philip Johnny Bob.
So, and he's the weirdest fish. He loves to be petted. He wants, yes. He will swim on top of his bowl and he will glare at you with his fishy face until you pet it. My kids think it's so weird, but we end up with some weird animals. I don't know what goes on. Like I attract all these weird animals. We had a duck that thought it was a goat one time.
What do you gotta explain?
His name was Howard because, of course, Howard the duck, you know.
Right.
And his name was Howard, and then we had a goat, and he went with her, and he slept with her. She had kids from another man, though, obviously. He helped raise those kids as his very own. He slept with them. He cuddled them. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was really beautiful. But, yeah, people are like, why is the duck with the goats? I'm like, he thinks he's a goat. I don't know. It's fine.
My science brain goes to, so this happens throughout humanity. Doesn't matter what species you can be, whatever it is, you will. Once you bond, like.
And they did. They loved each other. You know, they would all curl around each other, and the babies would be right there. And it did look odd. I'm not going to say it didn't look odd because it's not what we're used to. But it was sweet. You know, it was so sweet. And yeah, I think there's a life lesson in that. You know, sometimes it may look a little odd because we're not used to it, but that doesn't mean it's bad because Howard loved her with all of his ducky heart.
Duck hearts.
It was sweet.
That's a beautiful story.
It was, and that was it was a really big segue. And we went from fish depression to fish to names to goat and duck love. And we're coming back full circle, and I'm going to let you bring this back in. I want to see how good.
No, I mean, it just kind of, you know, if I was going to bring this around, I would just keep talking.
And I would say this shows you that we focus on the wrong things. We focus on the 80% of things that don't even matter.
Right.
20% that really matters. And the 20% is that they just loved each other, and love is good.
Love no bounds.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Oh,
yeah. 80 podcast. Maria just dropped the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a virtual round of applause. Okay.
All right. So Prado.
So, you know what? I mean, the beautiful thing about you bringing this up, I think that, you know, especially during this time, this is something people can implement. I mean, regardless of the time.
Absolutely.
I feel like I don't know if it's true. I have no idea if it's true because I don't always believe everything I hear, but it seems like some people are struggling to find some grounding during this time. You know what I mean? As far as
common anyway. I mean, I do. I think it's common anyway.
Right? It's not per se during 2020. It's just, I think it's been magnified. You know, but it's the same. Every year is the same, where it's like we start out the beginning of the year where I'm going to do all these changes. Everything's going to be great. My year's going to be fantastic. And then something happens in the middle where you're like, what am I going to do? And then the end of the year, you start to set the goals for the next year, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. If you apply the 80-20 rule, especially now, what month is it? December, right? If you consistently work on applying that 80-20 rule, you won't have that weird wiggle room in the middle where you're like, what am I working on? Why am I not losing weight? Why is my business not making this much money? Why is my show not getting this? Like, you're going to have a consistent year. I mean, there's going to be ups and downs, kind of like stocks, if you even want to say that. But even with this, like, kind of like dip and like increase or whatever, it's going to have this like steady, you know, increase, you know? So, I mean, I'm hoping that people will really look into this 80-20 rule and apply it. This is not like woo-woo or just like, oh, it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? These are things that work.
And so, it's measurable. You know what I mean?
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your business. You owe it to whatever it is that you're working on. It's just about making the commitment. And consistency, right?
Absolutely. And if it's not, if you feel like it's not working, don't just give up and say, I quit everything, which I have done that before. I've ugly cried in my room with my wine. I'm done. I just suck at everything, quit everything.
Just you had a wine with you. I didn't have any of that. I was just in my car, just like snot running down.
Oh, I was in my room. I had wine. It's like that one GIF. Did you say GIF or GIF? Freaking don't know what that is.
I say GIF.
I say GIF too, but then I always question myself, and I don't want to sound.
GIF is peanut butter.
It's like, I've heard it say both ways. So again, I fear saying stuff wrong. So sometimes I just don't say the word because I don't want to say it wrong. But I do
it with people's names. I'm like, Mrs. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, anyway, what I was going to say is like that one GIF of where he's like drinking the wine in the like massage chair. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So anyway, that's me. That's how I was like. Ah. So anyway, point is though, is most of the time it's not as bad as we think it is. Like,
right?
Yeah, there's those times where it really is as bad. You know, you might be going through some shit. Oh, I said it. Some beep. You may be going through some beep, but you know, most of the time it's not as bad. There's always, you know, kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. We may not be able to see it at that moment. And I think that is another place where you can just scale back and then look at the Pareto principle again and say, okay, yes, I made my plan earlier this year. Yes, 2020 has been like a roller coaster ride and the track's up in flames and I'm blindfolded and I don't know what the frick's going on. Yes, it's been that kind of a year, but how can I salvage?
Right.
because I think what ends up happening, and I think we were talking about kind of the wellness side of that. It's the same thing kind of ends up happening in our business. It's like we make our pretty plan in January, we got our vision board. We're like, bam, what's going on? It's going to be good. And then something happens. And we're like, freaking quit. I'm done. And it wasn't, it's not that all the plans were bad. It's nobody planned for a pandemic. I made my vision board in December of 2019. I can 110% tell you nothing about a pandemic is on the vision board. It's in my office. It says nothing about it, and luckily I've gone through this kind of ups and downs of stuff so many times. I am skilled at pivoting. So, I just had to kind of look back and say, okay, well, that plan's not going to work. So what can I focus on? So, I call it the power of the pivot all the time. It's the power of the pivot. If you have the ability to kind of pivot, you are way, way ahead of the game, because even if it doesn't end up being something like a pandemic, there's always going to be something that goes on that's going to try to derail us. Something's not going to work out. The timing's not going to be right. You're going to spend, 47 hours making this amazing whatever, and then it's going to be like crickets, whatever it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's always going to be things that's going to make us question ourselves, try to derail us. But that's when it's important to have that list and go back to your list. Look at your goals. Are they the same? Ask yourself, are they the same? Because maybe they change. We change. That's okay. You can change your freaking goals. I don't care what you said last year, last week, last month, last hour. You can change your goals.
Right.
You can. It's okay. So look at your goals. Is it still your goals? If it is, good, cool. Okay, well, look at your day. Does your day still look the same as when you wrote it down last time? Maybe not. Write down your typical day again.
Right.
Circle the things that are meeting up with the same thing. You're just going through the same thing. Circle the things that's meeting up with your goals. Circle them. If there's none that are meeting up, that's probably one of the problems. You know what I mean? And that's okay. It can be remedied. Look at what's going on in the day and what you can change. Where can you add in some of the needle moving, items? And, I think that, again, this is where this 80-20 rule almost gives us the freedom to say, I don't have to worry about 100%. Freaking forget the 100%.
Right.
You can't worry about the 100% of the time. That's how you end up in therapy 24 hours a day. And then even if your business is doing well, you're spending so much money in therapy, it doesn't even matter.
Right.
That's a non-professional opinion, but I'm just saying. So, you know what I'm saying, right? You can drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh my God.
Say it with me. More is not better. Better is better.
Yes. Butter, better. Better, butter.
Better, butter. Butter, better. I love butter. Butter's so good.
Yo, I just learned about Kerrygold butter. Do you know about Kerrygold butter?
Yes. Wow. Kerrygold butter is the bomb.
Yo, I just learned about it.
And the clouds parted and the angels sang. When you're like,
oh. It's like I've always seen it, but I never saw it. You just see things in passing, but I never really
Kerrygold butter. I don't want to pay $5 with some butter.
Yeah, I was like, what?
See, now you're like, I will pay $5 for some butter.
Yeah, that butter's better.
It is. Exactly. Better is better.
Packaging too. I mean, how could you not?
I'm telling you. It's all around. Good. So Kerrygold butter. If you see us, you are more than willing to come on our show. We can talk about Kerrygold butter. You can sponsor us. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll
my Kerrygold butter.
You know what I would love? If there was a gold sun, kind of like in Teletubbies, where it would just come around our face for advertising, and then Kerrygold logo, just
that'd be good.
Ticker across the street.
We could make it when you're in elementary school and you do the play, and they take the paper plate and they cut it out for your face.
Yes.
And then you can make the sunbeams and you tie it on.
That's really creepy.
Is it creepy that I know that, or just creepy all around?
No, creepy because I would never wear it.
Oh, I would.
You'd like
I would wear it, non-sponsored. I would just wear it. I'd be like, what's going on?
Guys, it's Tuesday.
Let's see what Maria's wearing today. I would totally wear it. I am all about the shock factor, as my mother could attest. If I know something bothers, especially with my mother, if I know something bothers my mother, it's happening.
I do too, to a degree though.
I'm like, oh.
Usually people are doing, because they know I'm very so they're like, oh, let's do this, and I'm like, yeah,
like me, where I'm like, hey, let's do it, come on, I mean, I'm like you got the angels on your shoulders.
Oh no.
I feel like I'm both. I'm like, yeah, you can do it. You can reach your goals. You can do your business.
Oh
I'm like,
my God.
hey, let's look at a conspiracy series. These are really awesome to talk about.
It's like, yeah, but what about the aliens? Okay.
Yeah. Just like I find it like I think I find it so intriguing because they're so out there, and so they're it's a form of entertainment for me.
I get it. No, I roger that. I mean, there's certain things that I remember in the past I would look into, and then I was like,
And it makes your brain hurt. You're like, never mind. If it's true, I don't want to know.
yeah, well, part of me is like that. Part of me. And then part of me is like, not tell me about it. You ever see that episode of The Simpsons? Did you ever watch The Simpsons?
I never watched The Simpsons. I know, I suck.
Oh, it was great.
That's a conspiracy theory, though.
What?
It is. The Simpsons is a conspiracy theory.
Okay, you got it. Like, what do you mean? Like, that sense
There's several conspiracy because they say that they predict the future.
In a sense, they do.
So
anybody could predict the future, though.
No, like apparently they like predict it like pretty on point. Like people have like paired up pictures with scenes of some of the.
Yeah, they did, but I don't think they did it on purpose.
Well, how they do it?
Well, I mean, all right. Like if you see how things move, like we're all creatures of habit, okay? So like certain things just make sense because it's happened before. Like we could talk more after the show. I'll tell you certain things that
You're
happen.
like, we don't want to talk about conspiracy theories on air, Maria.
No, I do. I just don't want to offend.
I don't want the Men in Black to come sweep me away into I don't even know what these places are called.
They're gonna have their little pen and it's like, nah, you don't remember anything anymore.
Actually, I could have used that so many times in my life.
Right? I'm like,
zap me.
Error.
Zap me. Just zap me. I mean it.
Just press the button.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's been fun, Maria.
Been good stuff. So yeah, we'll end it here since we're getting way off topic even for us. Once we start talking about aliens and Men in Black, I think on a show where we were talking about like the Pareto principle, I feel like it's time to go.
We can save the I would love to talk about a little conspiracy theory next time. That would be actually pretty cool.
I think that would be funny.
I want to see like I want to know like what is on your mind, like the one thing you were like, yo, what is this? Like I want to know what that is, and I want to knowledge binge it. I like to knowledge binge. Did I tell you that?
I will tell you off air because we don't want to ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, please. I like to knowledge binge. Like I'll just go full on like, yeah.
Gonna text you.
Okay, great. Bye.